Welcome back to Preparing for the Unexpected. Today we're talking with Dr. Fayadh Alenezi, and we are talking about risk and all kinds of other things. And for second segment, Fayadh, I'd like to talk about mindset. What do you see as the right mindset, especially considering we just talked about risk?
True. And I love this question because, mindset can be taken like as a buzzword,
Mm,
but it's actually the foundation of everything. Your mind, it's who you are, how you respond, how you create. So I would like to break down the word into two words because it's two words, right? Mind and sit. So mind is the dynamic part, which is how you think, feel, and process the world. Sit, on the other hand, which is the fixed part, which is the patterns you've developed through habits, beliefs, and experience. So when you bring them together, you see how mindset really become both the filter and the driver of your behavior. And this can take us to a very important aspect, which is you or and me, which is ourselves. Before you even have the ability to manage risk, people, process, or system, you must learn to manage yourself.
mm,
That means you need to know your triggers. Alex, you need to know if you are tough under pressure and you go crazy or you're calm, right?
yeah.
If you need to know these triggers that can affect the outcome that we will be in something, somewhere in the future. How emotions, are going to affect that. And I often tell teams that I mentor and teach, you don't leave emotions at home and you go to work. They're coming with you,
Yeah.
really. So your personal life, your energy, and your mindset, they all are working with you to the organization. So really, the magic here is, or the skill that we need to know is, it's not pretending that we're not unaffected, we're unaffected of this, but learning to recognize them and be able to manage them. That's that's my way of understanding and believing, in mindset. And I recall Dr. John Medina, which he is a big researcher in brain performance. He said that emotions drive attention, and attention drives learning. So if you don't recognize your emotions, your triggers, you're not gonna be able to perform sustainably. You're gonna be okay if your mood is okay. You're gonna be, crazy if you have a problem at home and you don't know how to get yourself together, right? So that's my way of understanding, around mindset. And if you link that even to Presilience, really Presilience starts with a mindset, right?
Mhm.
If you don't have that mindset, you're not gonna be reach Presilience. So it's really start with, self-awareness, being consistent on what you do, and being adaptive, using reflection and learning to adjust your approach. Don't be rigid. Oh, this is what I believe and this is what I'm going to do. And that's it. Appreciate different perspectives. You are only one point on the spectrum. That's it. There are other views on the table that need to be considered. If you
Mhm.
don't have that mindset to appreciate other opinions and being able to even being criticized a little bit and learn from them and be positive, you're not gonna be high performing, right? You're
Right.
not, you will be okay today, you'll not be okay tomorrow.
Yeah, and you shut yourself off from potential opportunities as well, either yourself or your organization, if you're the leader and you let your emotions take over and make all your decisions for you, chances are pretty good you're going to make the wrong decisions for the wrong reasons, even, and you will probably have an impact on those around you, a negative impact on
True,
those around you.
true. Just maybe you've been in trading, right? If your emotion, uh, if you lost a trade, and you don't regulate your emotions, most likely you're gonna lose the next trade,
Yeah.
right? So that's just an example, that you need to pause, you need to take breath, you need to go outside, change the environment that you're in, sleep, whatever you want that takes you away from that stressful situation.
Here's the $1 million question. Is it quick to do to change your mindset?
It's not quick, it takes time. It's not easy, it requires changing your beliefs, which is it's very difficult, that you need to work on your beliefs, values. It takes time, but it's doable, it's possible.
And I guess you also have to realize that other people, there's what, 8 billion people in the world now. They're not all going to think the same way you do. And
True,
as you touched on different opinions, you kind of have to embrace that and understand that not everyone's going to think the same way I do, but let's find those bits of common ground to help us get better and move forward.
true,
Because
true.
then it gets easier to
And
find further commonalities.
true. And just take innovative ideas. They may not come from one person, right? You may hear something from me, you may hear something from other person. You try to combine things, right? And come up with something innovative.
Right.
So you need to appreciate different perspectives, diversity of people, diversity of background. Everyone contribute, everyone understands something in this, on the table that we're in. So appreciate the diversity. It's bringing something to the table, either you appreciate it or not. So it's good to leverage that.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think of, and I'm sure you've been in this situation where you're in a room and it's a quote unquote brainstorming session. So just throw ideas out there and we'll see what we come up with. And as soon as the first idea comes out, people are already shooting it down. It's like, well, no, this is brainstorming. Like, just throw the ideas out there. If we get 10 new ideas, we might be able to combine a couple of the ones that are kind of iffy and come up with something really great. But people get
Yeah.
shut down so much. And I'm,
And that's the point of brainstorming, to go crazy, right?
yeah, exactly.
So just be crazy. Crazy ideas, out of 100 crazy ideas, maybe couple, can be implemented, right?
Yeah. And it could be the taking something that's not so good about one idea and not so good about another. But when they come together, oh, wow, they complement each other. And these two negatives just made a big positive.
True,
Right? And
true.
that's
That's
the
very
change in
true.
mindset to see
True,
that, because that is like our first segment, risk. That's innovation. That's a new idea. That's seeing opportunity in risk.
true. And that's maybe can take us to like further down the road, which like about growth mindset and
Mhm.
fixed mindset. Traditional approaches in risk management, they make us live in the fixed mindset because it's rigid, it's not dynamic.
Right.
It makes you think that everything is under control, and you fall into the trap of illusion right away, right?
Right.
So maybe we will touch that later on.
Well, before we go there, let's talk about the balance between people and process, because you alluded to that earlier on as well. So I'd like to talk about that. How do you see, uh, let's just talk about it. You define people and process. How do you see
Sure.
that? working, the balance
Sure.
between the two. Because in a
It's
compliance environment,
yeah,
it's, process, process, tick box,
true,
all kinds of things like that.
true. So processes really, are tools. They help us, achieve something, and most importantly, it helps us achieve purpose. So if people feel that they're slowed down or not, or that process is killing their creativity, it's it's gonna kill the support to purpose right away, because purpose is what we all of us are going after, right? We all have purpose. So to answer that question shortly, people really come first into this. Processes should evolve based on lived experience, not from imposed as, rigid checklists.
Yeah.
And some processes really, they're coming from the regulatory side, which is fine. But as leaders in the organizations, we need to explain the why this process is is being thrown at us to implement. There has to be a reason. There has to be a reason the regulator is making this, something that we need to do now, right?
Right.
That takes us to the glue to the whole thing, which is alignment. We don't want people to put their perspective or their meaning to the process, right? And that maybe take us to like sense making and meaning making. I want everybody to be aligned. If a process is being implemented, what's the why behind it? How is it gonna help us achieve the purpose, achieve the strategy, and achieve our objectives? Most of the processes, we're doing them, but we don't know why. We don't know why. And just what's suffering is the performance. Performance sometimes is up, sometimes is down, right? Because I don't know why they're doing that.
Yeah.
I think it's not necessary. My boss think it's not necessary. My boss's boss thinks it's not necessary. But we have to do it.
Yeah.
What do you expect the performance, right? It's suffering. It's not sustainable. And it's against Presilience, principle, which is, the alignment between, process and people, which is the big two pillars of the model that, we need to balance that.
Hmm.
But by doing the alignment, every process we have should be aligned with people, values, beliefs, emotions, everything.
Yeah. It's hard to get behind an idea, a concept, a process when you have no idea why you have to,
True.
because then the commitment's not there. As you said, the performance isn't going to be there. I'm going to do it half baked, just enough to cross the line. And, then I can walk away from it until I have to do it again. It doesn't grow. It just becomes like this uh, thing you have to follow that nobody likes, nobody wants to do, and in the end is adding no benefit. But if they understood the why, they might find that there is a lot of benefit to following this process.
True. And from like a risk management perspective, having imbalanced process and people can create many risks
Hmm.
in performance and misalignment and values creation and all this. So having a balanced people and process, which can be done and can be created by having like the dynamic risk equilibrium and Presilience, where you can, have, you can't reach dynamic equilibrium if you have imbalance.
Right. I think that's a
Yeah.
perfect spot to end our second segment today. We're talking with Dr. Fayadh Alenezi, and we will be right back. And I think we're going to touch on Presilience finally. Maybe we should give Dr. Gav a shout out. What do you think? Maybe?
Sure. Yeah. He deserves it.
He deserves it, yes. We will be right back.